it's Brian with GreyWolf Towers again. So I wanted to do a new video, and for that video I'm going to be doing it on the Aorus Z790 Elite AX ICE or ICE model. And we'll go over that in a second. I do want to apologize ahead of time though for background noises. We've got some issues going on with the washing machine, and then we've got a little bit of a mess over here. I apologize. We've got a 2-month-old baby, and so things have been a little hectic and more crazy than normal. But keeping to the video, let's go ahead and get down to what matters. And for this video, that is the Z790 Aorus Elite AX ICE edition. It is a gamer-based motherboard, which means you get features like RGB as opposed to workstations that don't use as much RGB but do use, different cooling, different amounts of RAM, things like that. So you will see a lot of features that pertain to you as a gamer. They might or might not pertain to you as a person using it for a workstation. So do bear that and keep that in mind. So this is an LGA 1700 socket motherboard. That means it is the Intel 12th, 13th, and 14th generation. So it can run anything from an i3 12100 all the way up to an i9 14900 KS. I don't think there's anything higher right now. So those are capable of being run on this motherboard. It does, however, require updates for some of those. So keep that in mind. You may need an older CPU or to flash the BIOS using, I believe it has a BIOS flash button, but we'll look and check and point that out if it does. So it does have QFlash Plus, which is what I think is the flash without the CPU option. And then it has a 2.5 gigabit LAN, so you get plenty of throughput if you're connected to Ethernet. It does also have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3, if I remember correctly. But again, if I spot anything that points that out, I will let you know. So nothing that I found points to the Bluetooth on it. It does have Bluetooth. It just does not state what version it is. But I believe it's 5.3. It could be 5.2. But anyway, the system also comes with some other features like USB-C and a really good thermal design for the VRMs. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what is inside the package. So here we go. So it does not come sealed. It did come in another box because I told Amazon that I wanted it to not show what was in the items. There are some little warnings here and some regular sticker stuff on it as far as like what's in the package, and it's got your serial number items and things like that, but it does not have a seal to it holding it shut. So there's no way to verify that it went from manufacturer to Amazon to us. It could have gone from manufacturer to Amazon to somebody else, back to Amazon, and then to us. We don't know. But I will be testing this out soon to find out if it runs. And let's go ahead and take a peek here. So I'm going to take this out first. So it does have the little adapter for the front panel, which is good. It looks like a spare thermal pad for the heatsink for the NVMe drives. It's got some SATA cables. I swear they need to stop sending these because nobody should be using those anymore. So I swear they should stop sending these with the system. They're not really used much anymore. There is also a little guide. It looks like just regulatory notices and things like that. And then it's got the installation guide, which is going to give how to put it into a case, which we already know, but if you need to know, then that'll help you. And then it's got the antenna. It is very aesthetically pleasing. However, I'm kind of disappointed. The black model, if I remember correctly, I'm 99.9% positive, has a magnet on the bottom, which means that it's going to stick to my metal case and not really like move and bump. This one's probably going to move around. I don't see any kind of magnet there, so kind of disappointed there. It is more aesthetically pleasing than the black model, but it is not, at least to me, but it is not something that I think is going to be any better. I think it's going to be slightly worse in most cases. So there's nothing else under this. So let's go ahead and put this portion back. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and set this down over here. So this motherboard is basically, like I said, the white version of the one that I have. It does look like they have tweaked a few things, so we'll take a look and see what is included. Now this bag is sealed, but only with regular like masking tape. It's maybe packing tape, but it's not like the, if removed, it shows a peel type thing, you know? So, but the bag is emblazoned with Gigabyte on both sides. Let's go ahead and take a peek and see what we get. Some sharp stuff here. All right, I'm gonna take a quick peek and then I'll show it to you. I'm gonna be honest, it is a very attractive white and silver motherboard. I see lots of silver accents, white base to the motherboard. Everything looks good. So it looks nice. Let me check the socket just to make sure that before we go anywhere. Socket looks clear, so we're good. Okay. So I don't have to return it for a damaged socket, so that's good. So let's go ahead and let me show you what's going on. So on the back, you've got an integrated I/O shield, which is awesome. I love those. You've got 4 USB 2s. It's got 2 USB 3.2s. Another USB 3.2, a USB-C 20 gig, 2 more 3.2s. You've got SPDIF out for better audio. You've got a mic and then a line out for audio. You've got the 2.5 gig connection there for the Ethernet. You've got a display port and an HDMI. No more DVI, no more DVI and no more VGA on motherboards. Very happy to see that they're completely gone nowadays. And then you've got your 2 outlet plugs for the Wi-Fi. Now the Wi-Fi will work close to the wireless router without an antenna plugged in, but for any kind of distance beyond a few feet, you will want to make sure that you have the antenna or have the antenna plugged in, or you will not get very good reception. So up here we've got 4 DIMM slots, so 4 slots for RAM. Now it is a DDR5 motherboard, so keep in mind that there are some 4-stick kits. However, 4 sticks does tend to have an issue with DDR5, whereas DDR4 could run it a lot easier. So you've got your 24 pin up here. You've got 2 8 pins for the CPU here. You've got optional CPU. You've got the CPU fan. You've got the 5 volt and 12 volt, if I remember correctly, is what those are. The RGB. You've got the 3 pin with the 1 missing, so it's basically 4, but 1's missing, so it's kind of like that. And then you've got the 4 pin. That one's the 12 volt, so I believe the other one's 5 volt. Over here you have your USB front panel. You've got your USB-C front panel. Let's see here, we have our SATA ports. There are 6 of them, so you've got plenty of expandability if you have a case that houses them. You've got your front panel here, you've got your CMOS battery, and right between the two is the two pins for resetting your CMOS so you don't have to pull the battery. You've got 4, I see 4 fan headers down here. There's none on this side here, and there's none other than the CPU one up here. And you've got none on this side. So literally there are 4 fan headers that I see so far, and all 4 of them are right next to each other down here. So you do have 2 USB 2 headers down here, which is awesome. That lets you with the front panel, and then it also lets you with something like you can get expansion rear ones, or you can have some devices like certain older CPU coolers and things like that were RGB that used the USB 2 headers. So that is awesome that there's 2 of them on this board. You do have a TPM plug, however, The CPU has a integrated TPM function, so you won't need that unless you have something that specifically requires hardware TPM. And you've got two more headers like the ones up top for the RGB. You've got an LED demo of some kind. I'm not familiar with that, so we're not going to get into that. And then you've got the audio connection for the front panel audio. So everything's good there. Now, without opening this up and seeing the exact layout, we can't see how the thermal pads and everything are. There is one NVMe here with a large cooler, which may cause problems with your graphics card depending on some models. Under here there will be three, but I'm not sure how they are situated. I'm guessing from the looks of it that it's literally 1, 2, 3 right next to each other. Very similar to how mine is, and so that's pretty reasonable. So yeah, I mean, everything looks pretty good, looks clean, looks professional, looks gamerish. I am thinking that this is not gonna light up. I don't see anywhere that shows lights here. However, on mine, there's lights in this general area here that I'm not seeing. So that's interesting. As far as optional features that don't necessarily come on most other motherboards, or at least most older ones, you do have a clear switch here for clearing your CMOS. It's right by the top of the SATA ports. You've got a reset switch here so that you can actually just do a hard reset to completely restart the computer. And then down here next to the fan headers, between the USB 2 and the fan headers, you have a QFlash Plus. So it does have, what you do is, so say you have a 14th gen CPU and it hasn't been updated yet, which may or may not be the case depending on the manufacturer model. So you would put the CPU in, put the RAM in, put everything together, get it all ready, and then this specific port here is a USB 3.2. It's specifically labeled as BIOS. So it's the one immediately to the left of the HDMI port, between the HDMI and the one antenna connection. You would plug your USB with the new BIOS version on that. You would plug everything in as far as power and RAM and everything. Then you hit that button rather than anything else. And what it'll do is it'll start it into the flash. And if your USB drive has a light in it, you will notice that it will either light up or start flashing, whichever that model happens to do. And what that will do is that will then start the process of flashing. It should take no more than 4 to 5 minutes. So what I would suggest doing is keep an eye on it. Don't worry about it. If it keeps flashing for 4 or 5 minutes, you're still probably just fine. If it's going for more than 5 minutes, then there may be an issue. However, you do want to take into account that this is a DDR5 motherboard, and I'm going to be honest, no matter what they tell you from the manufacturers, DDR5 takes forever to boot. So when you do a fresh thing like a BIOS update or new installation of RAM, it usually takes between 3 and 5 minutes for it to cycle through the RAM, testing it, cycle through the RAM, testing it, cycle through the RAM, and show that it's working. And so you may see a couple restarts, you may see some things like that. Just keep an eye on it, but give it a minimum of 5 minutes. I'd say if you really want to be generous, give them 10 minutes of running, then see what it's doing. I wouldn't restart it less than 10 minutes just to make sure you have time. I know there's lots of people out there that have done better studies on it than I have. They are probably more accurate than I am, but I'm going to say minimum of 5 minutes, give it 10 if you can, and then the update should be done. But that gives you time for the restarts for the RAM and all the checks for the BIOS and the installation of the BIOS, which by itself can take 3 to 5 minutes. So keep that in mind. But overall, lots of silver, lots of white, great looking motherboard in my opinion. It is an amazing board, and I think it's going to look great in the build, and I will try and show a picture. If I get this video edited after the build is done, then I will do a little photo of the finished build, hopefully. If the video is not edited until after then that's the case. If the video is edited before that, then I may end up not showing you the complete system, so bear with me on that. But this is an amazing looking motherboard. I can't wait to use it. It's hopefully going to be great. So I hope that this little view of the motherboard for the Aorus Z790 Elite AX Ice Edition helps you to decide if this is the right motherboard for you or not. Don't forget to subscribe using the subscription button over here if you haven't already, so that you can keep up to date on our new videos and our community section. If you have any questions for myself, the channel, or the product, about the product, make sure you leave those down below in the comments section. If you haven't, make sure you hit the like button if you found this video entertaining or informational. And then, as always, I hope you have a great day. Bye for now.